the gospel definitely makes us as the church countercultural in that the gospel confronts so many foundational ideas that are fed to us in our culture. The gospel confronts our self-centeredness. The gospel confronts our self-sufficiency. The gospel tells us that we are dead in sin and lovers of darkness and doomed to hell and can do absolutely nothing to save ourselves. This goes completely against everything the culture says about self-esteem and building up self and exalting self. The gospel tells us to crucify self. And that's just the beginning. The way that works out in total submission to the lordship of Christ, which is turning aside from the things of this world. It's giving up everything we have, Luke 14. It is picking up our cross, denying ourselves daily. This is what the gospel requires. It's what the gospel demands of us. And the reality is, in our culture, that is going to cause us to live radically different. Speaking the gospel in our culture, I believe, requires a variety of things from us. It certainly requires us to be clear, that we show the gospel and the grand picture of redemption and show the gospel with clarity. I think we have muddied the waters with the way we have communicated the gospel in our culture and reduced it to a superstitious prayer we pray. This is not what the gospel is about. Francis Schaeffer said that Christian community is the final apologetic for the gospel. And this is where the church and proclaiming the gospel in an increasingly post-Christian culture, they both come together, because the church must reflect the gospel. We must be a radically different community in order to support proclamation of the gospel in an increasingly skeptical culture. We live in a culture marked by moral relativism, biblical skepticism, religious pluralism, and we've got to be bold in our proclamation of the gospel, but that proclamation must be backed up by radical living that is transformed by the gospel. And that's when a skeptical culture says there's something different here, and then opens the way for listening to the claims of the gospel.